How Social Networks Work, Part 2. This is Pam Rutledge. We know that networks are made up of a set of nodes linked by relationships, but how likely is it that two nodes will be connected? It turns out it's a lot more likely than you would think. Have you ever been miles from home and run into someone who knew your Aunt Betsy, and did you both exclaim, "What a small world"? Well, in 1967, the social psychologist Stanley Milgram did a series of experiments called the Small World Studies. He wanted to measure the distance between nodes. He wanted to learn approximately how many steps it would take to connect one random person with another. Milgram tested this by asking random people in Omaha, Nebraska and Wichita, Kansas to forward envelopes to a Mr. Jacobs in Boston. They could send it right to Mr. Jacobs if they knew him, or they could send it to someone who they believed would be more likely to know Mr. Jacobs. Each person who received an envelope repeated these instructions until the envelopes reached their target. Based on this research, Milgram claimed that there was an average of 6 steps between any two people, making the world of communications much smaller than anyone had previously imagined. This small world phenomenon has become popularly known as 6 degrees of separation, or perhaps you've heard of the party game 6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon, based upon the number of steps between Hollywood actors linked by movie appearances. It's the same idea. In a network, each step away from a starting point is called a zone. In a fully connected network, you can reach every other person within that first zone. The world, as you noticed, is not made up of one fully connected network. It is made up of many connected networks. Although each small network can have different individual characteristics such as size and density, networks have distinctive properties that emerge and become a collective behavior like flash mobs, popular expressions, and fashion trends. These 3 small networks illustrate a concept called the strength of weak ties. Weak ties are the links that connect networks. Strong ties are less likely to seek connections outside their current group. A sociologist named Granovetter showed how the weak tie links between the networks are the key to information distribution. While strong ties are best if you need someone to loan you money, if you want new information, you will need some weak ties. This concept of weak ties is why the professional networking site LinkedIn is so effective. Weak ties connect across different networks. So let's say you need a job or you're looking for a new client lead. It's unlikely that you'll hear about that from your closest colleagues because they already know all the same stuff you do. However, if your friend Mary has friends in several other groups, her connections provide a way for information about potential new opportunities to get to you. So Mary is a weak connector. Connecting and building networks is how we build social capital. Social capital is not an attribute of an individual. It's in his or her ability to use those relationships within a network. Another important network property is how change can occur. Networks are dynamic, changing all the time. Most change is gradual and not visible across a system, but once a certain threshold is reached, radical change can occur. Water gets colder and colder, and then, once it hits 0 degrees Celsius, it's ice. This is the concept of a threshold, or the tipping point. The terms come from epidemiology and describe how information is threaded through a network in the same way that outbreaks of infectious disease occur. We see this phenomenon in viral marketing and fads, like how many people saw the Diet Coke and Mentos video on YouTube, or at what point you decided to join Twitter. This is the end of part 2. Thanks for listening.